it's really important to own your expertness, embracing your expertise, thinking about yourself, putting yourself in the place of thinking about yourself as a thought leader, as an influencer. And I don't mean the influencer that's like, trying to sell another person's product kind of thing, but the influencer in your field, the influencer in what you know about.
Welcome back to Talking with Teri TV. I'm your host, Teri Cardula, and in today's Business Spotlight, we're going to explore how visibility is so critical to your business success, especially on the digital landscape, and the role of disruptive PR plays in it too. Kate Paine is the founder and CEO of Standing Out Online, here to share more. I'm super excited. Yay!
Here we
Kate
are.
Paine's in the house. All right, so let's unpack this really quickly, but just give us a little backstory on how you got to be where you're at today to get us started.
Well, when I was like in junior high, I was watching 60 Minutes with my dad because I was a geek, and I wanted to be the next Diane Sawyer. So I kind of knew that I wanted to be somehow in broadcast or journalism or something like that. So I ended up going to school in New York City, and I went to the School of Visual Arts. I was in their communication arts program. While I was there, I was fortunate enough to get an incredible internship, not for 1 year, but for 2 years, and it was at CBS News. So the first year I was an intern on the morning show. Second year I was on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. That really dates me. And I was part of the Northeast Bureau. So I was, like a lot of times when the correspondents were doing stories, they would send me out to get the B-roll with the crew, get the sound bites from the person, because it wasn't necessarily the correspondent that was going out there. So then I went back to Vermont. That's where I'm from originally. And I worked in a community newspaper, and then I got poached in a good way to be the head of public relations for a state college and for an insurance company. And then that opened up the world of PR to me. So that's my journey in a nutshell.
I love it. Well, I mean, all business owners and entrepreneurs, I always say you cannot be the best kept secret, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, if you're really truly wanting to have an impact, you have to have visibility. You have to be out there to create the impact that you desire.
Right. Visibility is the antidote to invisibility.
Ooh, that's good.
Sometimes people ask me, like, what's the ROI of working with you, or what's the ROI of me being more visible? And a coach of mine said, what about COI, the cost of invisibility? So that's why I say visibility is the antidote to invisibility. So when you get out there, there's lots of ways that you can be visible. Certainly social media is one of them. Having a website for sure. And remember, the only thing you own on the internet is your website. So if you have LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all those things, those are great. But if they go belly up tomorrow, so does your presence there. So you also want to think about other ways to be visible, especially from a media standpoint. So one of those is through PR, and to be on a show like this, for example, to get maybe into a magazine or something. And a lot of people think about that the visibility component or the PR component, especially like traditional PR, is that you just need to be on TV. In this day and age, we are so fortunate. You're a perfect example of this, Teri. You have your own show on YouTube, and you've essentially created your own network, your own television network in a way. But when you create your network can include TV, YouTube, Spotify, podcasts, blogs, guest blogs, books. Like, there's all these channels that you can be more visible. And I'm not saying that you need to do all of them. You want to find the ones that resonate with your style, the way you want to show up. And what I usually will say to people when they think about wanting to get PR, think about the media that you consume. Like, if you really listen to podcasts, then that might be the place that you want to go. And you want to go on to quality podcasts. I mean, podcasts are great. There's a ton of them out there. But some put more effort into them than others, and those are the ones that you want to try to get to.
That's right. That's right. And you can use this and strategize, because every time and as you know, you can leverage this content, and you can, anytime I'm going on TV, we repurpose, we create the reels, we tagging, there's a strategy behind that.
Yes, there is.
Can you say a little bit more about just like the strategy behind the visibility?
Yes. So I want to just say one thing before you answer that question. The other part of visibility is really, really, really embracing who you are, embracing your expertise, thinking about yourself, putting yourself in the place of thinking about yourself as a thought leader, as an influencer. And I don't mean the influencer that's like, trying to sell another person's product kind of thing, but the influencer in your field, the influencer in what you know about. So owning, and then when you start to get the visibility and you start to get the traction, you're actually building relationships with people. You're building trust. And when people get to know you and they see you over and over again, it builds trust. And then hopefully that's going to lead to an interaction and maybe a transaction, in the best sense. So the visibility piece is, it's really important to own your expertness.
Yes.
Not in the dictionary.
I love this. And so before we go into that next piece is, again, like I think that when people come onto media, whatever it is, video, podcast, we have to be vulnerable and show up. And I think that holds back a lot of people from taking the next step and getting out there to be visible, right? Because we were just having this conversation last night, and one of the ladies was like, I am terrified. Let me just get through this first. And I always tell people, like, you can't have the household name without the inner game. So you gotta like do the work. And but for folks that are like, I'm ready, or maybe I'm curious, of getting themselves in front of a camera in any capacity, even pre-recorded, whatever that is, what are some tips or techniques that you have that have helped people get to that, like, and these are the people that are ready. These are not the people that are like terrified. These, these are
people who already have.
They're like, do I? Like, what's that next, like, piece that you can help support?
So, even understanding your story or your purpose, some people might call it your why, except I like to take it deeper than that, is when you really understand that what you do or the product you create is changing lives or creating impact or creating change. When if you can step into that, instead of being all about you, oh my God, I'm terrified. What if I screw up? What if this, what if that? If you think, if I get in front of talking with you or talking on the news or writing a blog, and I can create an outcome that's going to create change, then you see yourself as somebody who is helping others, in service to others. And that usually makes you kind of go, like, this is why I do what I do. So you kind of have to just get away from the fear. One of the things you can do too is just practice on your own camera. So turn on your Zoom and just record yourself. And then watch it back and just do a few minutes. That's a really good way to like see if you say all the time or the little things that you might do, or maybe you look off in the direction, and just do it. It's uncomfortable, but if you do it, it's a great little way to start to get comfortable. And there's also people, media coaches that can help you to do that, and they'll role play. So going back to the strategy behind why it's important to have visibility, and it's all about the strategy. So if you have been doing the social media and you've been doing these things and you're an established business, you're a speaker, author, coach, an entrepreneur, you've gotten to this level where it's like, there's other visibility that I want to get to. So that's kind of where PR comes in. And what I like to talk about in the work that I do is that I am doing what I'm calling, my term, I mean it's on Google, but disruptive PR. So traditional PR was like the press release. And maybe you had a PR firm and they would try to pitch the press release to something. Well, and then, before now, between then and now, then there were PR wires. So you put the press release on the wire and then you like spray and pray that it's gonna get picked up by but you have no control. Back in the days when I was doing this, I mean, we were writing press releases and we were faxing them. But at least you were faxing them to like an affiliate news station. You knew it was getting someplace sort of targeted. With the news wire, you just don't have that level of control. And so now, especially with people who have a message to get out there and want to make impact, the media wants that message to come from you, the thought leader, you, the influencer. And so if you are creating, like finding the hook to create a pitch that you then email to a direct contact, not an info at, you know the name of the producer or the reporter or whatever, or the editor. You want to send that. and you want to show some of your assets, like here's the reason why I'm the person you want to talk to, not just here's the idea. Your listeners are going to benefit from learning about this, and so you're making it more likely to get these other media hits. So let's say you get one big media hit. Media breeds media. The minute you show up in one thing, all these other people see it. You leverage it on your social channels. You put it on your website. You have a media page on your website. And then they see you or hear you or read you, whichever medium you're using. And then they usually somebody will reach out and go, hey, I saw you or read you or heard you. I'd like to have you as a guest on my show or as a guest on this. One of the things I really like to try to get people to think about is you can become an expert resource, especially for like local news affiliates. If you have a specialty, pitch yourself for this one thing. Then when you're there, say, hey, listen, I am willing to be a resource for you. A lot of these news channels and reporters have resources. You see it on, CNN. They have the same person that comes on all the time about a certain topic, and that person is an expert resource for them. So these are ways that you can leverage visibility in a unique and different way that not everybody gets, and you can hopefully build a way for it to be sustainable.
And it's all about relationships. I know that we've gone on and created powerful relationships. So I've reached out. One station I've rescued 4 times because they're like, I need someone. And literally, this is one of my hacks, because I used to do Facebook Lives all the time, and I used to have these notebooks of just full of content. And then I went back through and I categorized them based on the information I was sharing. Whether was it energy-based, business-based, relationship-based, what was the, category for it. I categorized them, and then I yellow tagged all my favorite ones that had lots of engagement that I loved talking about, and they're on my shelf. And literally they called me and they said, can you get on station in 30 minutes? And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? So I went and pulled the notebook and I flipped to a page that had a yellow mark, and I'm like, here it is. And that was my content. Prepped it, ready, 30 minutes in, I'm on station, because they did a virtual. And it was just like, but I've done that 4 times with it. So now they call me all the time, like, can you do this? I'm like, yep.
I love that.
And it becomes, but that relationship is so...
It is important.
Key to that visibility.
Another thing that I sort of miss back in the days of what I'm calling traditional PR is, first of all, news stations, newspapers, magazines had press pools. Like, they had people. And those don't just exist as much anymore. Like, you might have one reporter at a local newspaper who's covering everything. Health and business and crime and all of that. Or news crews are going to go and do a certain thing, and then some other thing is happening somewhere else and they have to go, because they don't have all the people in the newsroom anymore. So it's even harder to even get on local news. But if you have these ways of being able to really pitch why it's so unique, why this story is so different, but also how is it going to help the viewer? How is it going to help the reader, so that they can learn something? And you also want to be fresh. There's so many things out there that are just sort of wash, rinse, and repeat. But you want to come up with a fresh angle, a fresh hook. And language matters, words matter, as we've heard.
Yes, I love it.
So it's a way of coming across that pitches you in a way that's different.
I get it, and I love that. Like, again, that disruptive PR is, how do we do it differently?
It's disrupting the norm. And traditional PR has its place. Especially like in corporate world. I mean, they have to rely on that. But if you are the entrepreneur that wants to get, more visibility, then it's a more one-on-one kind of approach.
I love it. So what are some of the common mistakes that business owners make in really creating more visibility online, and how can we avoid some of those pitfalls?
I think sometimes they don't necessarily look at visibility in the big picture standpoint. I think sometimes they get so sort of almost like tunnel vision, and they're like, well, I'm only going to do Facebook Lives. And it's not that doing a Facebook Live is bad, but if that's all you do, then that could get stagnant. And so it's important to sort of be innovative. How are the different ways you want to reach people? One of the great ways right now, and a lot of more people are doing it, but you have to do it judiciously, is behind the scenes. So whether it's behind the scenes pictures for something, you're meeting with a client, you're at a networking event, you're at a conference, but something that's a little quirky maybe, but people love to see what's going on behind the scenes. And so, but you don't want to do too much of it, because again, then it gets stagnant. So you kind of always have to be thinking like, well, what's a little bit different? What's a little bit fresh? Thinking about like what I was going to wear here today.
Yes.
I was like, well, I was going to probably go with my traditional blue, which I love, and orange is in my logo. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the orange.
I'm going to be a little disruptive.
I'm going to be a little disruptive and be a little more bold.
Yeah.
And it's about standing out. There's a lot of noise online. There's a lot of noise in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Social media, all the things, right? And so it takes creativity, and it takes strategy, and it takes planning, so that you can keep things fresh.
I love it. I love it. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back with Kate Paine in giving us some more tips and tools on becoming more visible online as well as offline. Want more support in creating your success story? My products can help. Check them out. First, I have my book, Be the Magic of You, Tools to Transform Your Life. And in it, I have over 70 different tools to help reprogram your brain. Next, I have my daily intentions planners. They help you create without forcing it. They combine brain science and universal laws. In addition to my book and planners, I also have 2 card decks you're sure to love, designed to support you to reconnect with your purpose, power, and potency. I also offer 2 special packages. The first is the Success Package. In it, you'll have my book and a year's supply of planners to help you bundle and save. Next is my favorite, the Empowerment Package. You can supercharge your life and business by getting all the products at one low price. But wait, there's more. I also offer a yearly subscription called the 7-Figure Business Box. Each quarter, you'll receive a physical box mailed to your home, a live 2-hour intensive training, an hour-long fireside chat with an expert in the industry, a guidebook packed with even more resources. To order anything you see here, just go to my website, talkingwithteri.com. We are back with Kate Paine, the visibility expert here, and I think a lot of us are afraid to be seen because of the vulnerability. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes, it's a great question. So yes, vulnerability plays into it, but it's not being vulnerable to overshare. It's vulnerability to create relatability.
Okay.
So for example, when I work with my LinkedIn clients, I want to, what I say, tease out a nugget of their personal story. And their personal story isn't just a story. It's a story that needs to relate to their professional expertise. So the story is what's going to be relatable to the person that's reading it or hearing it in whatever medium they're seeing it. So we'll talk about it by way of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Is because it builds more connection, and it also makes them care more. So when people know you, like you, care about you, feel connected to you, they're going to listen to you more. And so it builds connection. So showing that vulnerability by way of story sometimes is a way to do it without feeling kind of oogie about it. And because it's not just the grim story or the trauma, it's taking whatever that story is and making it relatable to your professional expertise.
Which is the strategy, really. I mean, that's the strategy behind, becoming visible. It's just not just, like you said earlier, what you said, you spray and pray, right? It's not just that. It's like having really thought out strategy behind how is this going to help support you being seen by your target audience, by the people that need to see, hear, and feel you in order to do business connections, collaborations with you.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
Yes.
Okay, so can you share a success story where maybe it helped a client enhance their visibility, whether that's through LinkedIn or PR, and how that impacted the client's business?
Yes. So I have a great LinkedIn story. A woman is she's a CPA, and she doesn't work as a CPA anymore. So she's now become a profit strategy coach. And so she's really making herself a name in that, from speaking on stages and coaching and getting clients. So when I worked with her on her LinkedIn profile, we focused on her little story nugget, her slice of life story.
Yeah.
And she had made a big mistake as a CPA in business, like a big one. And she was vulnerable and shared that story because as a CPA, there's this perception that you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Everything has to be,
buttoned
up in a nice, neat little tidy package, right?
Yeah.
And so she shares that in her LinkedIn About section. It's kind of just it's only 3 or 4 sentences. So she has, since we did all this work, she has had people reach out to her who have mentioned that story. They've gotten on a call with her, they've chosen to work with her. And within 10 months of us optimizing her profile, she generated about $25,000 in revenue. Just from LinkedIn.
A little
so
slice of
because they could say, like, they saw her as a human being who happened to be a CPA. She was vulnerable about her story, but it was related and relevant to what she does.
Yeah.
And so you see how that all ties together?
Absolutely.
Another great PR story is a woman was on a webcast podcast, so it's the video, audio, not just the audio. And she was talking about, she's a financial planner, and she works with families who have kids with special needs. So it was about financial planning strategies for people who have special needs kids in their family. And after that aired, the day after it aired, she got contacted by a local organization to do a presentation on Zoom for this community. And so she did this presentation, and she got like 4 or 5 leads out of that.
Wow.
So you just never know. You might be saying, oh, I've just been invited to be on a panel and whatever, but you'd never, when people see it and it lands and it resonates with them, you never know how these connections are going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And like as we were talking about before, it's not just one thing, it's tying in the strategy on multiple places and repurposing that information. I don't know, is that that's probably not the word I want to say, repurposing.
No, actually, leveraging.
Leveraging, okay.
So leveraging, because when you get these media hits, like for example, if you do a podcast, webcast, especially if it's video, you could do it with audio too. You could take that 20-minute interview or that 30-minute show, and you could take snippets of the 20 things, the 20 points that were like little 1 to 2 minute snippets. And then you've got social media content that might last you for 2 or 3 months. So, and a lot of times these topics are evergreen. So, you can leverage these over social media on all kinds of things. That's why you want to get pictures. So get the still images. When you're done being interviewed, take the fun little shots. Use those for stills. Then you've got the video snippets. You've got the audio. Be thinking about all these varieties of ways that you can show up. Because if you want to go for that big media hit, if you're building this foundation of really quality, PR opportunities or media opportunities, then you're building a really good foundation to launch into those bigger asks.
And they're going to ask for that. I know that when we were doing ABC in Texas, they asked for clippets of me being on show because they gave me a 5-minute segment, which is a long time
that is.
For a first-time guest on a show, right? And so they want to make sure that you are, hey, you've been doing this. And so how do you show up on camera? Can you roll with the punches? And so that just builds and builds and builds. And it's, once you start it, it just becomes like a fast path to impact, right?
It does. And it also reinforces your authority and your topic. It's builds credibility. It's credential. When you show that you've written a book, somebody's like, that takes a lot of effort to write a book. Even if you've written just a chapter in a collaborative book, all good. These are all ways that really just sort of like give you that foundation to say, this person knows what she's talking about. And I want to work with her.
And it positions you as the expert in that field, because here's the thing, most people will not do it. Why not leverage what you're called to do and have a bigger impact? Because right now on this planet, we need more people doing bigger work to have a bigger impact, a positive impact on this planet.
Absolutely.
And the more that we have people speaking their truth, sharing their message, and really raising the vibrations on this planet, the better we are.
Amen, Teri.
Amen, right?
Amen.
So, here we are. Oh my gosh. So this has been so amazing, so incredible. How can people connect with you, collaborate with you, or just book a call with you?
Okay. So first of all, connect with me on LinkedIn. So if you go to linkedin.com/in/Kate Paine, Paine, that's a great way to connect with me. Certainly my website, standingoutonline.com, is the name of my business and my website, and there's a contact form there to reach out to me there. But there's a lot of resources on my website too that I put out there about LinkedIn tips, public, visibility tips, and there's ways that you can work with me through helping you optimize your LinkedIn profile to doing disruptive PR.
I love it. I love it. So amazing. Please check her out. Here's the thing. You cannot be the best kept secret. And if you know in your heart of hearts that you are to do big things in the world, let's make sure that you get to be seen online and offline so that you can have that big ripple effect in the world. My friends, as always, be bold, be brave, be fearless, be the magic of you. Massive love, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell to find out about my upcoming shows. Thank you for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time.